Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. We are buzzing as always. And folks, I'm super pumped to have today's guest on the show. Today we have Chris Liquin, the CEO of Cupcake, the social layer of Solana. If you guys have heard of CultureFi, and I'm sure you have, we are going to jump right into it. Everything engagement related, everything CultureFi related, bringing culture to Web3. It's exactly what we need, and can't wait to get into it with Chris. Chris has been investing in crypto since 2016 and has worked full-time in the space since 2021. Prior to Cupcake, Chris worked for Gary Vaynerchuck at Vayner3. Everyone knows Gary V, a Fortune 500 Web3 consulting firm, as SVP of Strategy and Operations. During his time at V3, he led over 25 mil of work with brands like Budweiser, Red Bull, Coinbase, Johnny Walker, Crocs, and KFC to explore the frontier of the internet. Wow, that must have been fun. Can't wait to get into that. He also holds an MBA from Chicago Booth, spent his non-crypto career at KPMG and Google Cloud, and lives in Chicago, great city, with his wife and their crazy cat named Bunny. Chris, pumped to have you on, mate. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Great to be here, Matt. Yeah, absolutely great to be on. Looking forward to our chat.
You and I were in Consensus last week. What a banger that was. So much fun.
It was awesome.
Great stories or memories from Consensus?
Oh, let's see. It was a great week. I think those weeks are always like, 80% chaos, 20% gold. And you just never know when the gold's going to hit you. So you're just always on all week, meeting with investors, partners, teams. I think my favorite memory was, well, I'll give two. I think we were living in an Airbnb with the Cupcake team, as well as, some of just the KOLs and friendlies that we have in the space. We had a great Airbnb. And we shot a lot of video content. We have Sol Jakey, Mark Colser, Sonny, some of the, popular names in Solana all living with us, and, did a great job with video content, making sure that not only did we have fun, have a lot of great conversations, but also, spreading the good word on social. So we cooked up a video of us all in the kitchen getting ready for season 2. And that was it was an electric video that, hit on social, on crypto Twitter. And then this didn't make it to any video content yet, but we also took a very scenic scooter ride at something like midnight on one of the nights, and just drove all over the city, drove all over campus. Had a crew of 6 or 8 of us. I think scooters are big in Austin, so it's a fun week.
The limes are incredible. I wish we had limes in Toronto. I know a lot of people shit on limes and birds because it is sort of a nuisance if you're a walking pedestrian, but it's just so easy to get from point A to point B. Like you literally hop on, boom, scan the phone, you're off, And in Austin, when it's like, I don't know, I'm not a Fahrenheit guy like you guys are, but when it was like 38 degrees Celsius, if you go for a walk, you're sweating. But if you're on a limeroon ski, it's not that bad because you get a little breeze.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You come in looking refreshed. Exactly.
It's an absolute treat. Before we get into Cupcake and CultureFi and everything that you are moving and grooving with, I'd love to go back to your time at Vayner. Everyone knows Gary Vaynerchuck. I mean, I'm not the greatest at impressions. If I was, I would definitely do it. But he is the king of it. Time. You're so young. You got more time. Work harder. Take more risks. Everyone knows who Gary V is. Not as popular as he was when you worked for him, but he absolutely blew up. I like a lot of his narratives. Some of it gets a little annoying, but at a whole, from a macro perspective, he's just telling people to take more risks, work harder, believe in yourself. And you got to love that stuff. Before we get into some of the work you did, you got to give us a couple Gary Vee stories. I know you worked pretty closely with him. He must have been an absolute just high-strung, high-octane lad. What Gary Vee stories do you have for us?
Yeah, I think my favorite one, this was such a cool experience. I have been working in consulting my whole career, and coming to Vayner and doing it at Vayner3 was just super cool to take all that professional stuff, but bring it into this new Web3 context where we're actually advising agency, or you were an agency advising, these big corporates on innovation. And this was the first time we had the opportunity to talk to the global CEO of a big food and bev company. I won't give the name, but it was this big food and bev company, a client of ours. And it was just Gary and I on the pitch. So it was this opportunity to talk to one of the most senior people I'd ever talked to, and seeing Gary, who, is such a dynamic, crazy person on social, like you said, right? He's just, he's got his message, he's got his vibe, he's got his shtick, but then he just turned it on, and it was still Gary, right? It was still Gary that was talking to the global CEO of this food and bev company. But you could tell he was an operator too, and he was a visionary and could go toe to toe with a CEO and have an awesome conversation and really, be creating that light bulb moment for the future of blockchain, how blockchain and tokens would play a role in consumer marketing. So getting to see that type of conversation, be part of that type of conversation at like the senior most levels, was some of the cool opportunities that I got to have at Vayner. But like seeing Gary as like the figurehead that was really leading that charge. I mean, this was late 2021, that conversation, and like what incredible momentum for just myself to see that, me to bring that to the broader team at V3. I mean, we had the wind at our backs at that time and had such cool conversations with these big brands and created those light bulb moments at the top of, tons of organizations that, have started the wheels in motion. So yeah, it's super cool experience.
Chris, you're an easy guest here. You just teed me up on my next point.
Oh, I love to hear it.
The conversations, I often get asked how, why, what, when Fortune 500 brands to Web3. Why do they want to get involved? If they're already printing money left, right, and center, why take the risk? Why go to Web3? For us, we know why. We're preaching it. But what were you saying to these execs, to these C-suite execs of Fortune 500 brands worth millions and millions or billions of dollars? What were you and Gary and the rest of the team telling them in order to be like, hey guys, there's actually a really cool piece of tech, i.e. Web3, crypto, blockchain, that can move the needle and entice and incentivize your customers way more than the traditional Web 2 way? What did those convos sound like?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I think what I like that the way you framed the question is these people at these big organizations, they're just people too, right? You think about the big overlords, right? The corporations, the brands in crypto, but like they're just people. And the best way, to get a big organization like that, these big cruise ships, they move slow, they've been around for 50 years, 100 years. It's really creating those light bulb moments with individuals. And our best clients were people who, we found that one person who was like the degen, right, at that company, or like, was crypto curious or was interested. And so, yeah, I love that you mentioned, these are conversations happening with real people. Cause I don't think about Pepsi, Budweiser, Johnny Walker. I think about, Devin, Sophie, Julie, right? These individuals that I met. And, the value prop of tokens for these brands, I think it's about the direct to consumer connection you can have. You can actually give them something digital that they actually own in their wallet. And that has implications across all of consumer marketing, right? If I think about like what younger people are doing today, and this is happening on platforms like Roblox or Fortnite, right? They're thinking of their digital self just as important as their physical self, right?
Massive,
and so I think they're actually like, I forget the stat, but we used to have this stat where like, consumers on Roblox change their avatar, they change their clothes once a day. Just like in the real world, in the digital world, they're changing their look, they're changing their avatar. 75% of kids on Roblox, or not even kids, but like players on Roblox, they have a pretty big audience over 18 as well. 75% of them say they're going to spend money on digital fashion over the next 1 year, right? And so we had these kind of conversations about not only is crypto and tokens and digital assets happening today, but like the younger generation is growing up without even thinking about this gap between physical world and digital world. And so you really start to see where this whole space is going when you understand that, there are younger generations are asking for, Robux for Christmas. They're asking for gift cards for a digital currency instead of, Barbies, right? And so just seeing that wave was such a bullish signal. And that's a long-term bullish signal, but it's a huge one when you think about how consumers will interact with digital tokens. And then, for the actual business case, right? It was around, you think about like, we tokenized whiskey with Johnny Walker, right? We put a bottle.
So cool.
Yeah, the business actually, just a few days ago, Don Julio actually put a cask of whiskey on chain, and now you could fractionalize a cask and own a fractional piece of a cask. And I think for that, it's like a very cool new distribution mechanism, right? I think because of the laws around, liquor distribution, and so state by state in the US, it's different in every jurisdiction elsewhere. The idea that you could actually sell a digital representation of that bottle, and then that user can go claim or redeem it, from the right distribution channel. It's a way for a brand like Johnny Walker or Don Julio to have that like direct connection with the user, whereas typically they sell, through layers and layers of intermediaries. So that having that direct relationship with consumers was a huge part of the pitch. And so, yeah, hope that gives you kind of a good overview of some of the key things we were thinking about. It was always, easy when the market was hot, and then brands start getting
course.
nervous over the 2022 cycle. So I think that was part of the fun too, was to say, hey, this is the long game, right? It's an opportunity to be cool and relevant and test and experiment in the short term. But think about this, there's going to be waves and waves of these cycles. So, brands are always thinking on that time horizon.
100%. Well said there too. I'm curious if you and I, Chris, are in the same yacht here. I'm a believer that it's going to be, and something like Cupcake, which you guys are working on, some type of social app or a Fortune 500 company that comes out with a world-class incentive, a Web3 based incentive program that does onboard the masses. We haven't really, Nike's done some stuff, Starbucks did some stuff, but like none of it stuck, right? The Johnny Walker stuff, super, super cool. I love a glass of whiskey just as much as the next guy. I think it's super cool. Maybe not for everyone, but I think without a brand that people know coming in, or a new type of, CultureFi app perhaps, or some type of social app coming into Web3 and really like blowing up in the best way possible, I don't think that a lot of these Fortune 500 brands are going to come on the space unless they need to, right? It's almost like the whole Zoom thing, right? Back in 2020, COVID hits. It's like, oh shit, everyone has to go online. We have to do it. The opportunities too good to pass up. Or when back in 2012, when mobile started to really, pop off, it's like, shit, we need to optimize our mobile website more than our desktop website now. Am I alone in that, or are you with me in the sense of like we need one big boy or big girl to really pop off in order for the smaller incumbents to make room as well?
No, I think we're definitely on the same yacht. I think you're onto something. I think the key is like meeting consumers where they're at. I think one of the biggest mistakes that the space at large makes is like we expect if we build the coolest crypto trading platform, we build the best DEX, we build the best liquid restaking, they're going to come. They're going to become traders. They're going to become gamblers. And the reality is most people in the world don't trade stocks, let alone go on DEX Screener and trade meme coins. Most people in the world don't, go to Vegas and gamble. They let other people do that, right? It's not that they don't spend times online, right? People's screen time is only going up, right? People are on their phone playing Wordle, Candy Crush. They're on social media, right? And I think what the space in crypto, if we want to be able to cross that chasm, if we want to be able to kind of break through the barrier that I think, many apps have tried, and there's been plenty of examples that have gotten close. But I think the key, and the ones that have gotten as big as they've gotten, I think a lot about STEPN, is you have to meet people where they're at. And STEPN did so well last cycle because everyone walks. Everyone's used to tracking their miles. Everyone's used to tracking their steps. And so to build an app that kind of taps into an existing consumer behavior is the only way that we're going to get there. It's rather than trying to educate everyone of the value proposition of the eigenlayer or something, like that's always going to be a niche type of user. And no shade at what they're doing. I think it's an incredible innovation for ETH security. But I also think that, the mainstream user will be terrified to learn about, the layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and, all of the technical jargon that we tend to shoot ourselves in the foot with. Spotify got big, Napster got big because they were like, hey, free music. They weren't talking about MP3s and permissionless P2P file sharing. They were just like, you can get free music. And I think that's what we need to do for crypto, is to meet people where they're at with things that they are already familiar and excited about.
Yeah, remove the friction. Well said there. Let's jump into Cupcake. Give us a quick intro about Cupcake, your mission in the crypto space, sort of what inspired the creation of Cupcake, and the gap in the market that you guys are filling, which is a bit of a weird is definitely the wrong word, but a unique one. You guys are going after an angle that not a lot of people and companies are, and I love that. So give us a quick elevator pitch on Cupcake, and then we'll get into the fun stuff here.
Yeah, so Cupcake is casual games on Solana. I think I teed this opportunity up a little bit in saying that, we need familiar digital experiences. We need things that feel familiar. So you can think about Cupcake as Web3 Wordle, Web3 Candy Crush. We have a rotating feed of little social games. They're either kind of the casual game like a Flappy Bird or a Candy Crush, or they're, maybe a little more like Duolingo, 2 truths and a lie, trivia, this or that, would you rather. So you're playing these highly interactive games. These interactive games are all about crypto culture, right? So if, we were out at Consensus last week, Karate Combat was a big event on Thursday where we had actual kind of like a crypto fight night with different KOLs in the space fighting. We would have that game on Cupcake where you can now, even if you weren't at Consensus, play a little fun mini game that's celebrating, a cultural moment in crypto. So the rotating feed of games feels like a Web2 experience. super smooth, super slick, super polished. And then we have an on-chain rewards economy. So as you're playing, you're collecting cupcakes of different rarities, you're climbing leaderboards, and then you're getting tokens and prizes. So you can imagine Bonk is one of our partners. We got approved through the Bonk DAO recently. We're going to have Bonk trivia. You climb the Bonk leaderboard based on how well you know Bonk, and then you're getting airdrops of Bonk tokens, right? So for users, awesome way to learn about new projects, awesome way to kind of have fun, do something familiar, but get your taste of digital ownership of tokens. And for partners, it's a great way to kind of spread the meme, right? Spread the lore, spread, the discovery of your project. So that's Cupcake in a nutshell, probably a lot more there, but we're super excited about this kind of rotating casual game approach to really captivate the masses with an on-chain experience.
I love that. I remember a couple of years ago, Wordle was electric. Remember when everyone was using Wordle?
Everyone.
And imagine getting compensated for it. I don't like the word compensated. Imagine being incentivized to use Wordle.
Yeah,
it's like, I'm my girlfriend and I, my family and I are doing this every single day. And it's like, hey, you know what? This would, I remember back in the day, that's what it was. You wake up, do Wordle. My mom's a friggin' word nerd, electric at Wordle, just like, first try again today, feel it, and then that'd be sweet if we could grab some cupcakes for winning a couple games of Wordle.
And I think those type of active experiences where you're the main character, right? You're excited about your Wordle score, you're thinking, right? Like those experiences are worth incentivizing. I think too much of broader social media, you're doom scrolling, right? You're just passively scrolling through a feed of other people's photos, other people's videos. And I think part of the reason why we're trying to take this very active first-person gameplay approach is because we want to create more active user experience. We want people to lean in, learn about things they're interested in, celebrate crypto culture in a way that feels like you're the main character, not just kind of passively looking through someone else's feed.
Have you guys, I'm sure you must have, just like everyone else in the space, when you guys went live and you sort of give the value prop, hey, come do the regular things you do in Web 2 and get incentivized in the Web 3 ecosystem, even though it looks and feels exactly like Web 2. Are you guys still getting pushback from folks? Not pushback, but like, hey, like, is this sketchy? Am I going to get rugged? Blah, blah, blah. Have you guys had trouble with the narrative of, giving back, even though everything's safe, legit, and looks, feels, and plays like a Web 2 ecosystem?
Yeah, I'll say two things. One, we work with an awesome partner called TipLink, and they are a wallet on Solana where you single click sign in with Google. So we're not asking anybody to spin up a wallet, connect your Phantom, right? Like we've seen the dangers of new platforms launching with kind of some of the old school Web3 technology. The future, I think, is just as seamless as what we're used to doing, right? You connect your Google account to so many places across the internet today that OAuth with Google, OAuth with Apple, right? That is such a familiar experience. And I love the fact that TipLink built a solution that actually spins a user up a wallet that's now connected with that OAuth with Google. So now you can take your Cupcake wallet, which is a TipLink wallet. You can go over to, Tensor. You can go over to Jupiter and have that same exact login with Google experience. And so you're actually bringing your assets with you, almost connected to your Google account, which I think is just a fantastic thing. I wish that was around when I was doing the brand stuff because we were trying to create that same frictionless onboarding. And I think that builds a lot of trust, right? If you're building that type of experience for user where you're just saying, hey, log in with Google, we'll handle the rest. We built a lot of trust. And I think the second thing I would say is, I think in today's crypto cycle, right? I think in 2021, we may have gotten shade from the trolls on Twitter that, oh, this is Web 2.5 or, oh, this is Web whatever. And I think what's exciting me about this next cycle is everyone is excited about more seamless, frictionless, easy consumer experiences. We, like I said, have an on-chain rewards economy. We're using the blockchain for all the rewards, all of the, interactions you're having on the app. But we still want slick front-end experiences. And I think the whole space kind of learned that lesson last cycle that crypto's a little too clunky. And the UI needs to improve. Yeah, we're getting there.
Way too clunky. Way too clunky. Even back in, the last time, it's funny how it works in crypto, but it's just so cliche. The 2 times in my crypto journey where I've onboarded the most normies was summer 2021 with NFTs. Yep. Complete degeneracy, and Feb, March, April of 2024, Solana meme coin to complete degeneracy. Chris, I had the same message sent out. I had an iMessage, I had an email. None of my normies are reaching out via Signal or Telegram, of course. But I had a message blocked and loaded teaching both my American friends, my Canadian friends, how to get into the space. And of course, there's the phantom wallet. Hey, dude, you got to write down your seat. Like, no, what the heck? What's going on there? That's no bueno. That's not going to move the needle. It's not going to bring the people on board. Gmail account? Yes, that will. Everyone's got a Gmail account. Everyone's got an Apple account. Well, for those who got Androids, I guess, and if you don't have those, then you got Microsoft or whatever, or Facebook. Everyone's got Facebook or Insta. There's always a way. And I love to see this because this is it's such an issue, and man, oh man, we got to fix this. And then the other thing that you mentioned earlier, and walking around Consensus, it drove me absolutely crazy. The amount of world-class companies you see with beautiful booths, blockchain X, we'll call it, modular / monolithic, zero layer execution, TP, like what the heck? When's this going to change? Like when are we going to get it?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think you don't talk about HTTPS, you talk about websites, you don't talk about MP3s, you talk about music. We don't talk about NFTs, we talk about cupcakes, right? They're just cupcakes. They're digital cupcakes.
Come get your cupcake. I love that. Chris, you're on a roll, my friend, but we got to take a quick break and give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show, PrimeXPT. And when we get back, we are going to continue to buzz on CultureFi, of course, Cupcake, and we got to jump into Solana as well. Until then, huge shout out to PrimeXPT, longtime friends and sponsors of the CryptoNews.com podcast. We love PrimeXPT as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. PrimeXPT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. The promo code is CryptoNews50. That's CryptoNews50 to take advantage of this offer and receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Let's jump right into one of my new favorite trends, CultureFi. Seen a couple different companies buzzing on this. The future of crypto, a lot of it is culture related. I mean, we have, think about Iggy Azalea, Caitlyn Jenner. We got the celebs coming on board now. This is what we need. CultureFi is going to be huge. The intersection of course, finance and the intersection of crypto as well and culture. What is your take on CultureFi? Did you guys coin this term, and how and why are you guys so, bullish on CultureFi as a whole?
Awesome. Yeah, I don't know if we coined the term. I've been saying it since the beginning. I think, I've been saying for years, honestly, I said this at Vayner, that crypto is a technological revolution, right? This is incredible new technology, but it's also a cultural revolution. The things I saw last cycle where, blockchain was giving artists a new way to monetize their work. Blockchain was giving new life to music ownership and, fractionalizing songs. Crypto was touching sports, right? It was, Top Shot was one of the early signals of the last cycle. So across, music, art, fashion, sports, blockchain is a technology that is having a real cultural impact, in niche and small ways, but I think it has the potential to touch, all areas of culture. And I think what we've seen so far with meme coins this cycle, to me, is like the early signal of what CultureFi can become, right? I've thought about meme coins as almost like hashtags with value associated to them, right? It's a measure of where the space's attention is. And so I'm like super excited about, as many meme coins as people want to make. Obviously, Pumped Up Fun is just shipping out, I don't even know, it's like millions of meme coins a day or something. And I don't see that as a bad thing, right? I think it's a signal that shows there's value and attention. And we need to continue building this industry that can catch all of that cultural attention. So, SocialFi to me is a little distinct. It's either, building Twitter on the blockchain, Substack on the blockchain. It's rebuilding some of the Web2 infrastructure on decentralized technologies where you actually own your followers, you own your social graph. I love that. But I've also seen, SocialFi be sort of the friend techs or the fantasy tops where you're able to invest in social capital. I can buy a share of an influencer or something. I think CultureFi is just bigger than that. I think it's the idea that there's a ton of value in all this cultural celebration around decentralized and digital ownership. And And I think it's up to companies like us to figure out the right way to create and capture that cultural value. But it's the opportunity we're targeting. Like I said, meme coins, like you mentioned, celebs are starting to get back in. That means the brands are probably about 3 to 6 months behind. That's how the last cycle went. So I think there's a lot to come in this kind of category around finding the value of cultural attention, finding the value of relevance.
Well said there. We got to jump into the one and only Solana as well. Literally almost a year ago today, Solana was like maybe the most shat on coin in all of crypto. 1 year ago today, early June 2023, F Solana rugged us, F SBF. I mean, the tech was still pretty world-class. It is proven to be even more world-class than many of us thought. How grateful and fortunate, I shouldn't say fortunate, how grateful and pumped are you guys to have built and continue to be building on the Solana ecosystem and blockchain? Because again, you guys probably had tons of other opportunities, but you went with Solana, and like going back at that, like that was a massive, massive decision. That was huge.
Yeah, it was a fantastic choice. I think sticking with the community and sticking with, Cupcake, the brand on Solana, has just been such an asset for us. It's a decision that I truly can't take full credit for. Cupcake was alive before I was, or before I was alive before I was, but it was alive before I joined. So Cupcake was born out of B&J Studios. So Bartaj and Jordan are two core Solana devs. They worked at Citadel, then they worked at Solana Labs. They actually built the NFT technology on Solana. So they had like a very early and super foundational and meaningful role in kind of building the chain into what it is today. And they spun out a little venture studio, and that venture studio spun out Cupcake. And so Cupcake's been around for a while. It's always been on Solana. And I think that origin story says a ton about, who and the sort of track record of the folks involved. I'll be super transparent. I spent my last 2.5 years focusing mostly on the EVM side. It's part of the reason I'm so excited about Solana is I've felt all of that user friction. I've felt all of the clunkiness of the layer 1, layer 2 approach. I know they're making massive strides. I love what the Base team is doing specifically in building that more frictionless thing. Coinbase just launched their, smart wallets this week, which I'm excited to dig into. But it's a little bit clunky. There's a definite friction curve for users to get up when they're working on ETH. So I'm new to Solana, but have been super thrilled to find that it has like just an awesome community. One of the big focuses at any in-person event, I'm going to, but definitely at Consensus, is just like making sure I'm like making as many connections on this side of the industry as possible, because there's definitely like at this point, I feel pretty good. I've been with the company since January, but in January, there was definitely some catching up to do. I had to kind of make sure that I understood the culture, understood, the lore, the history, where the bodies were buried, right? All the background and history on Solana. And I think, after now 6 months of really diving in, taking what I learned, my last 3-4 years, focusing more on the EVM side, like feeling very up to speed. And Consensus was a good confirmation of that. It was like, seeing a lot of familiar faces and good friends that, I've made over the last 6 months.
Chris, I love the honesty, man. A lot of people would have just been like, yeah, fuck, I've been building on Solana my whole life. So you're like, no, I was an EVM guy, now I'm a Sol guy. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Even stronger, honestly. It's bullish. It's even more bullish on Solana, right?
I love that. Couple more questions, my friend, and then we'll wrap up here. Let's talk about market trends. I would categorize, and my apologies if I'm wrong here, but I would categorize you guys in the sort of CultureFi, SocialFi area of crypto. What trends do you see sort of shaping the future of, we'll call it social media, SocialFi, CultureFi in the crypto industry over the next couple months, years, decades, so on and so forth? What does that look like later on down the road?
Yeah, this was coming from a lot of the time I spend at Vayner, thinking a lot about just social media broadly. Obviously, that's a massive focus for Gary. So it was just something we talked about in the halls. And I think like, what's the post TikTok? What's the end game here, right? I see like the pendulum kind of swinging, right? I think we have shortened our attention span as short as we can, right? It was, scrolling through an Instagram feed. Now it's scrolling through like micro short form videos. It's super powerful content. But I see that pendulum swinging back towards this more like active participatory thing, right? We don't have as many Taylor Swift and Beyoncé's anymore because the social media landscape is so big, because it's so easy to reach that, just a scaled base of users, we're going to have more and more like micro niches, micro influencers, people that like, feel like, to me, if I'm super passionate about whatever it is, they might feel like Taylor Swift to me because they're my favorite, most epic celebrity that I care a ton about, but they're not nearly that size, because I think the pendulum will swing back to like smaller communities that are just super passionate and super active. And what I've, kind of seen what happens when you have those super small, super passionate communities, you get things to go viral, right? Wordle didn't have a ton of players. They had, single digit millions, but it felt like it was across everyone's social feed because that small group was super active and sharing it with all their friends. Another example at the big brand side is like a Lululemon, right? Lululemon's not nearly as big as Nike, but it feels like it's everywhere because the people who are wearing Lululemon like to tell you about it. And I think that's true, in social, it's true in gaming, it's true in fashion. There's always these like small pockets of super passionate, active contributors. And I think crypto is like made for that type of community, right? If you can add tokens to that mix, suddenly you have this super passionate, active community that's all incentivized to work together and build something together. And I think you get, the viral stuff that we've seen in crypto. So I think we need to keep building. We need to keep making more accessible. But I see that kind of broader social pendulum swinging back towards these micro communities, towards that more active social experience. And so that's kind of the whatever it is, we're trying to skate to where that puck is headed at the Cupcake side.
I completely agree. And I think we're not too far away from the day where like there is a Chris token and a Matt token, like I feel like there's going to be a day where almost everyone is tokenized, which your community and my community, for those who like crypto, golf, travel, whatever you want to call it, it's like, you want to follow my shit? Guess what? Every little product I push out, you hold my token, you get a discount, or you get, access to meet and greets or one-on-one access, whatever the case may be. There's a multitude and a myriad of different use cases. But like, again, I don't know if that's going to happen because of the whole regulatory thing. Like if everyone's a friggin' token, like we're probably going to, enter spooky town for a significant amount of time. Some shit's going to hit the fan. But I think this is going to be happening. Just it's the future of social. I would say your take is a little spicy in regards to going back to the long form. I just can't see it happening. And I've been the interviewer interviewing many Gen Zers as well. And like, no offense to my Gen Z listeners, but I mean, they got the attention spans of chipmunks, like I just can't see it turning around. Maybe for the folks like us where I miss reading books, like I don't read as much as I used to because it's so easy to find other ways to take up my attention. But these younger kids, I mean, I don't know. You really think it's going to go back to longer form stuff?
No. I think I care less about the content format on this pendulum and more about the experience. I think like whether or not people are, consuming bite-sized video, it's more like currently they're consuming it so passively. I think TikTok's engagement rate is like 4%, which means 4% of users are like clicking, commenting, sharing. That means 96% of users are just swiping on to the next. Scrolling and to me, that pendulum's swinging. I think we need more active experiences. I think even the younger generation, right? At least they're running around in Roblox, hanging out with their friends. They're actually talking versus spending 2 hours a day just kind of mindlessly scrolling. So to me, I think signals are pointing towards more interactivity, more, hey, I'm the main character, in my little digital experience versus, just kind of like the constant, whatever dopamine, serotonin of just like little bite-sized entertainment. So that's my hope.
More in the arena, less in the bleachers.
I think that's exactly right. Well said.
Nice. Season 2 kicking off. You guys just absolutely teased the heck out of us. You and the team, the mayor of Blue Balls there. Just a world-class video. Don't say anything about it. What can you tell us? What kind of breaking news can you give us on the Crypto News Pod?
Yeah, so we just launched season 1. It was about a 4-week beta experience. We launched a super lean app, right? It had tons of games. It had pretty simple rewards, and it had, some token prizes from some of our sponsors. So it was the lightest version that we could launch, and we had 15,000 players. We had over 2 million games played. It was an awesome proof of concept. We really proved the concept. And I think what we took from that early experience was a ton of feedback from our users. We had a very spicy Discord at some points in that, 4 weeks. We learned a lot about the games that people wanted to play, about the, communication they were receiving, about the rewards economy that, they did or didn't understand. And so we wanted to use that little 4 weeks to learn, to listen, to understand what was happening, and to really get a sense for what our users care about. We will be launching season 2. We've not announced dates. We've just said it's coming soon, and it's as much alpha as I can give you. But what we're really building towards is a much more polished, much more slick experience, a much more, sophisticated experience too. Like I said, the reward economy was very basic in season 1. We're going to carry forward, everyone's NFTs that, like I said, it's all on chain. So all those NFTs still matter. And we're just thinking about more unique and different ways to kind of interact with your NFTs as part of the same sort of game loop. So our community can definitely look forward to a pretty slick season 2. I'm very, very excited about what the team's cooking up. But yeah, definitely we came and went with our season 1. But, we've been doing that, all year, honestly. We launched a very light alpha test earlier in the year, which was we had ChatGPT mini games. So, that was really scrappy. So each time we're launching things, it's getting more and more polished, more and more sophisticated. So big shout out to the community that's been there with us since the beginning, because we obviously, we couldn't be doing it without them.
Hey man, I love it. A couple more questions here. I guess we pretty much done, almost wrapping up. I'm a big domain guy. You probably won't tell me. I love asking my guests this. How much did the domain cost? And folks, the domain is cupcake.com. All real domain. Pretty penny?
Oh, pretty badass. Yeah, and this is another one that I can't take credit for. This purchase happened before my time. I can't say that I would have spent what the team spent on it, but you know what? It's a massive asset. It's so great. When we look at the data, when we look at our data, it's like, where is our traffic coming from? It's all coming from people just typing that into the browser, right? Like no one's linking from our Twitter or from our Telegram. Like people just type in cupcake.com. And to me, that's like just an incredible signal that like, yeah, there's a lot of power behind cupcake.com. So yeah, say it as much as you want. Cupcake.com, place to be.
When I'm doing research for a show, it's, a lot of companies, .ai, .so, whatever, there's so .io, I guess is the most common in crypto, but like having an actual front of mind thing that like a literal 2-year-old is cognizant of, and then .com. We love that. So anyways, Chris, you were on fire today. Really appreciate your time, my man. And can't wait to have you on for round 2 and got to meet you in person, of course. But until then, can you please let us know where our listeners can find you personally and, of course, Cupcake online and on socials?
Yeah, I am Chris Liquin on Twitter. I think I doxed myself maybe, probably about a year ago. So I'm fully doxed on Twitter, Chris Liquin, just my name. You can come hang out, chat about Cupcake, chat about the future of Web3 and consumer apps. If you want to get on the season 2 wait list, go to cupcake.com, connect your Gmail like we talked about on this episode. Boom, you are in. So yeah, a lot more to come. We'd love to have you, and we're super excited about building this thing. If you want to follow along the journey, just on Twitter, Cupcake Protocol. We are at Cupcake Protocol on Twitter, and as Matt pointed out, we do some fire content. So if nothing else, follow us just for the entertainment. But we'd love to have you on the platform as well. And thank you, Matt, for having me on.
Chris, appreciate you coming on. Can't wait for round 2, my friend.
Awesome.
Folks, what an episode with Chris Liquin, CEO of Cupcake. He brought the noise today. We touched everything CultureFi, digital self versus physical self, the intersection of finance and culture, building on Solana, the future of social, fractionalizing assets, Fortune 500 brands coming to Web3, Gary V stories, you name it, we touched it. Huge shout out to Chris and the team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, I hope you did. Please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking to the team, love you guys. Thank you so much for everything. Eustace, you are the man. And back to listeners, love you guys. Keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Bye for now, and we'll talk soon. See you on the next one.